Well, I'm out in the front yard just
Setting up my brand new Big Agnes Copper Spur UL2. I recently made a decision for my JMT hike that I wanted to go with a freestanding tent and also a two-walled tent because I wanted to be able to pull the rain fly at night and be able to see the stars, maybe get a little better perspective of things. So I had a tarp tent double rainbow. Really liked the tent, liked the weight of it. It was durable, very easy setup once I got it mastered. But it was a single wall tent, kind of a little more prone to humidity and condensation, and I really just felt like a better option for me was a two-wall tent that was going to be close to the same weight. That tarp tent weighed about 2 pounds 10 ounces, and I believe this Copper Spur weighs about maybe 3 pounds 4 ounces. Not that much of a difference, but at any rate, I got it about 2 weeks ago. Set it up that first day. It literally took me almost less than 5 minutes to set it up the first time. I set it up again today, and even with a little bit of wind, I was able to set this thing up in less than 5 minutes. You can see it behind me there. This is kind of an iconic tent with a lot of through hikers and with a lot of long hikers, and most of us are probably pretty familiar with the tent, but I just wanted to give you a few specifics on this thing, especially things that relate to my JMT hike in July. First of all, we'll just do a little walk around here. This thing, as I said, is freestanding, but it's better, as most tents are, if you do stake it out. And I do have 4 corner stakes, and then I have 1 stake on the vestibule on each side. This is a 2 vestibule tent. It's a 2-person tent. I intend to use it for myself and my son. It's going to be snug, but it's really about the same footprint as the double rainbow that I had, so I think it's going to be just fine. We can easily get 2 pads side by side. I've got a Neo Air X Therm, and then I've also got a Climate Static V, so we'll be taking those 2 pads with us, and they fit just fine side by side. I'll be using my Hammock Gear 0 degree top quilt. I was a little concerned about being cold, especially those last few nights as we near Mount Whitney. I want to make sure I have lots of warmth because I sleep kind of cold, so I did go with a 0 degree quilt. My son's going to go with a 15 degree bag. It's the Sierra Design Ziju, I think it's called. But at any rate, they'll fit in there just fine. The vestibules on each side will give us plenty of room for our packs and then gear, and of course if we have to cook in our vestibules because of bad weather, there's certainly enough room for that. That was the thing that I really was attracted to this tent about, was the size of the vestibules. They're actually a little bit larger than my double rainbow. Outdoor Gear Lab loves both these tents, and actually the Tarp Tent Double Rainbow is rated, that was their second highest rated tent. I believe this one's 3rd or 4th. The thing they love about this one was the large vestibule size, so that really did attract me. You can see this has the DAC aluminum poles. It's I don't know what weight seal nylon it is, but it's relatively lightweight and, for the weight, strong tent. But there were some concerns by some users about this thing not being absolutely bomb-proof, and you really had to kind of treat the fabrics gingerly. But now I tend to take pretty good care of my gear, so I'm not too worried about that. As you can see, I do have a Tyvek ground sheet down there. I wouldn't think about putting any tent down without a ground sheet, but especially this tent, so I'll be taking that with me. I'll probably need to trim it down just a little bit, but as it stands, I'm pretty pleased with it. You can see, of course, I can guide this thing out on 3 different locations on each end to make it really bomb-proof in the wind. And I know that the JMT has sections that are pretty windy. Of course, here on the East Coast, once you get up in the Bald Mountains of North Carolina, you get a lot of wind up there also. So I'm interested in getting it up there and testing it out, but just wanted you to take a look at the outside and get some of the attributes and characteristics. The vestibules, of course, can be rolled up on both sides to give you lots of ventilation if you need that. In fact, weather permitting on the JMT, that's probably the way we're going to sleep with it. We'll probably have both of those rolled up, but if we can, and this of course is really in air quotes, if we can cowboy camp, then we'll keep the rain fly off entirely, but I'm not too optimistic about that. Anyway, that's an outside view of it. Let me turn this off and I'll give you a better look on the inside. Okay, now I'm inside the tent. You can see there are my feet at the end of the tent. Give you some idea of how wide it is. This thing is tapered a little bit. and I'm sure the foot end is probably maybe 4.5 feet, or maybe not even that, maybe 4 feet, and then the head end is probably 4.5 to 5 feet. It is tapered, but there's plenty of room down there. I do want you to see, now there's about a foot, maybe a foot and a half of room beyond my feet, and I'm lying down, and I'm basically against, let me show you that, against the head end of the tent. So there's plenty of room in here. I'd say I'm about 5'10". I would say this tent easily would accommodate someone up to maybe 6 feet 3 inches, 6 feet 4 inches high. My oldest son's about 6'2". I should get him in here and see how he fits, but my middle son and I that are doing the JMT together are both in the 5'10 to 5'11 area, so it's easily going to accommodate us. I'm noticing as I'm lying down, the bathtub floor comes up probably an easy maybe 4 or 5 inches on each side of me. And I also notice that there is plenty of room for me to lie down, and then a good 2.5 to 3 feet beside me for my son to lie down, so that shouldn't be an issue at all. I do want you to notice there are multiple tie-out points here. I have a loop here above my head, another loop there. Certainly you could put a gear loft or a clothesline of some kind in here. I also have pockets in the corner, smaller pocket for gear, then I believe 2 larger pockets up here, perfect for, you know, well, I'm going to use a headlamp. I'm actually taking a pencil E-lamp, so I'm not going to be using it a lot for tent lighting, but you put that in there, you put your phone in there, you know, your, well, just about anything you want to. It's a true gear loft, and you've got those on both sides of the head end. And so my son and I will both have lots of room for storing things. And then of course you've got a couple more tie-out points down at the bottom, down there, lots of room for that. I did want you to notice the entry, of course, is a rainbow entry. That's the only thing I'm not thrilled about. There's a tendency to bring more muck and just gunk into the tent with a rainbow entry. This is only my second rainbow entry tent, so I do wish it were the side entry type, but I'll live with it, and I think it'll be just fine. I'm really not that concerned about it, but in my opinion, that's the only potential design flaw of this tent, but I'm sure Big Agnes gave lots of consideration to their entry and decided that that would give more space. I did want to mention something about the fabrics and the ability for the fabrics to deflect heat. I am outside now in mid-June in North Carolina. It's probably the mid-80s today, and we have a nice stiff breeze blowing, but I've intentionally closed off one side of the tent just to see how cool it stays in here with deflecting the heat. And I'll be frank with you, it's probably a good 10 degrees cooler inside here, so it's doing a really good job deflecting that heat, keeping the temps down. Of course, most of my backpacking, I'm only going to be in the tent at night unless weather takes me inside earlier, but I am kind of pleased with that. I do notice that, of course, all the seams on the bathtub floor and the seams on the rainfly are all tape seamed. This thing is supposed to be very, very waterproof. That's one thing that most users have raved about, is how waterproof this thing is. I'm looking forward to getting some rain on it just to try it out and see how rainproof it's going to be for me. But yeah, we're hoping that once we get to the JMT, we'll be there in late July and early August. Rains then are kind of hit and miss anyway, so we should be just fine even if it does rain. But my chief concern, if it does rain, is possibly bringing along some hail with it also, because I have heard that these things don't hold up that well to hail, but of course the hail that they get in California in the Sierras is not nearly like the hail we get here in the Southeast. Out there they get dime-sized stuff at largest. Here in the Southeast, quarter-sized stuff for us is routine, and we'll get up to golf ball and even baseball-sized stuff. I would not want to keep this tent up in that kind, but at any rate, that's a good idea. Let me also give you some idea of the headroom. I'm sitting up on both sides, and the way this thing, of course, is laid out, I've got a good probably 5 or 6 inches above my head. Now my torso, my waist is my inseam is 32 inches. I'm going to say my torso is about 19 to 20 inches, and I've got a good 6 inches above me, so it's probably 25 to 27 inches in height for me. And I'll just show you the vestibules outside. Lots of room in the vestibules. Looking forward to getting the packs in there and keeping them nice and protected. Again, I'll mention just the weight of this thing, just a little over 3 pounds, and that will be basically packed trail weight for us, because we will be, excuse me, let me focus this thing out. We will be taking all the stakes, and we will take the stuff sack. I'll be carrying the tent itself and the fly, and I'm sure my son will carry the stakes and the pole. Give me just a second to take that rain fly off, and I'll show you what the pole system looks like. Sorry, one more time, just a reminder, if we do sleep cowboy camping, that is in air quotes, cowboy camping, this will be the configuration with that rain fly off. This is a one-piece DACT aluminum pole system for the main tent body itself. You do have one additional pole, fits across the ridge up here. That gives a little more headroom on both sides. Really opens up and gives you more livability. That whole tent pole system really comes down and apart in the span of about 30 seconds. It's pretty amazing, and it's actually pretty lightweight too. So really thrilled with this tent. I can't wait to get it out on the trail for extended days. Most especially looking forward to getting on the JMT up in the Sierras and see how this thing holds up there. I'll try to give some reports after the hike, maybe sometime in late August, about how the thing did out there, but so far, so good, very pleased. I want to say, this is Bodge in the Woods. Happy hiking and God bless.